this kind of confrontation in the press room?
Okay, yeah, it is going to be like this, David. If the press writes false stories, like they did with this, because, you know, half of you are amazed that I raised all of this money. If the press writes false stories, like they did where I wanted to keep a low profile, I didn't want the credit for raising all this money for the vets. I wasn't looking for the credit. And by the way, more money is coming in. I wasn't looking for the credit. But I had no choice but to do this because the press was saying I didn't raise any money for them.
Here now with reaction to 2016 Republican presumptive nominee Donald Trump. Well, it's not really presumptive. You hit 1237, so you will be the nominee. I want to go into this, though, because this is not just this story. You said the press should be ashamed of themselves. And yes, if they act like this, it's going to be this way. Explain what you mean.
Well, they cover me so inaccurately. This was a good example because I raised $5.6 million for the vets, and it was a horrible experience with the press. I mean, they were questioning it. Did he really raise the money? Where is the money? And by the way, of the $5.6 million, I took zero in terms of administrative costs. Some of these people, they raise $1 million and they take $950,000 for administration. I took zero, not one penny. So I raised $5.6 million. More money's even coming in. And instead of like being, you know, treated at least reasonably, it's a whole big deal going on, and they're always saying, who's getting the money? Where's the money going? So today I had a press conference. I gave all the groups, they're great groups. They were so nice, and they wrote me letters, and they called. They couldn't even believe that they got it. So I raised $5.6 million, and I had bad publicity. I mean, can you believe it? I raised $5.6 million for the vets. It's all given out now. And instead of sort of being thanked, I don't have to be thanked, but instead of being thanked or being at least treated nicely by the press, you know, I got the worst publicity.
I watched this and I'm thinking, what do they think? You need the money? Do they think you're going to steal it? You were going through a process, though, of vetting these groups, which, by the way, is a responsible thing to do, right?
You have to, because you don't know who the groups are. Number one, you have to vet. Now, most of the money was given out, or a lot of it was given out very early, almost immediately, because the groups have been vetted, or I knew the groups or something. But, you know, I gave to many, many different groups, and, you know, it's a lot of 25,000, 100,000, 200,000. One group I gave 1.1 million to, and they're great people and great groups, but you have to vet them. You have to check them out to see, you know, do they exist? Do they have all of the information they need? And it takes a little time. And the publicity I got, honestly, what it does, Sean, is people in my position would say, why should we do this anymore if we're going to raise money, you know, many millions of dollars for a good group, I mean, great groups, and then we're criticized, it's easier not to do it. If I wouldn't have done it, I was under no obligation to do it. That was during the speech. I said, let's raise some money for the vets. If I didn't say that, nobody would have complained. Instead, I got nothing but bad publicity. So I felt the best way to handle it would be to hold a news conference and to show everybody where the money went, and I did that. And all of these groups were amazing, and they all got the money, and everybody now, I guess, is happy.
This is not an isolated incident. I mean, you went through the New York Times front page story, printed almost 20 pages about all these women you had supposedly mistreated. It turns out in every case, it was debunked by the women themselves, and even the one woman that stood by her story.
They went public. Sean, they went public.
They went public on their own.
Yeah.
I know Carrie Perjean, I called her. She came out on her own. That was one example. But look at, for example, did you see the Katie Couric piece on the gun issue, where they selectively edit in a pause that didn't exist in the interview? I said in 2008, journalism's dead. You're confronting this bias, institutional bias, and they don't seem to like it. You think this is the whole campaign?
Well, the Katie Couric piece is not that unusual. I'll be honest. I've given interviews, and I said, wait a minute, they're not covering me that way. The best thing you can do is put down a tape recorder next to you, because they make things up. I mean, the press is really dishonest, okay? And I don't mean everybody, but a big portion of them, especially the political press, they're the most dishonest people. They're bad people.
Yeah. All right, let me go to where the election is right now. You got a number of polls. You're up, for example, in the ABC Washington Post poll. You're up by a couple of points. A couple have you tied. It's going back and forth a little bit. The most interesting poll, though, I saw today was the state of New Jersey, where it's 38-34. Within the margin of error. Can you win New Jersey?
I think so. I mean, I love New Jersey. I am New Jersey, like a second home. I have property there. I have a lot of employees there. It's, you know, I love New Jersey. And frankly, I think we're going to do well. Everyone was shocked to see it. I guess it's 3 or 4 points behind, and I wasn't shocked to see it. And I think when they find out about Hillary, how bad she is, how corrupt she is, when they find out what she's been doing, and more importantly, maybe that I'm going to bring jobs back, because New Jersey needs jobs. I mean, the manufacturing in New Jersey is being wiped out. Businesses in New Jersey are being wiped out, Sean, and I'm going to bring jobs back from Mexico and China and all these places. I mean, I just heard that the PGA Tour is taking their tournament out of Miami and moving it to Mexico, as an example. They're taking it, it's at Doral, it's at, they use one of my places. They're moving their tournament, it's the Cadillac World Golf Championship, and Cadillac's been a great sponsor, but they're moving it to Mexico. They're moving it to Mexico City, which, by the way, I hope they have kidnapping insurance. But they're moving it to Mexico City. And I'm saying, you know, what's going on here? It is so sad when you look at what's going on with our country.
And you've talked a lot on the campaign trail. Carrier, for example, is another one. They want to take their jobs away, build manufacturing centers in Mexico, bring their air conditioners back here, and, you know, after they took away all these American jobs. Let me ask you this. There was a lot written about, and it went on for a couple of days, that you might debate Bernie Sanders. What happened?
Well, very simple. Number one, he's number two, and I'm hearing more and more that he can't win. Number one, I wanted to do it for a lot of money, and I would have done it for, in this case, women's health issues. And the networks weren't going to put up the money, and it wouldn't have been worthwhile to do it. And frankly, I'd like to debate him. I would love it. But they were supposed to put up money, and they weren't coming through, and I'm not going to do it for nothing. Why should I? And he's number two. You know, I won the nomination. And Bernie is number two, so why would I debate him? But if the money was put up, I would have done it. But they weren't going to put up the kind of money that we wanted.
You know, one of the things that's emerging, Bill Kristol, for example, is saying he's going to put up another candidate. You have a libertarian ticket that has just been announced. All of which seems to be people willingly sabotaging an outsider who got more votes in the history of the Republican Party in terms of a primary. What is your answer to that? Because to me, my answer is, it seems like they only want to help Hillary Clinton get elected. That means Hillary will make the Supreme Court choices.
Yeah. Well, Bill Kristol, he's a sad case. His magazine's failing. It's going to be out of business soon. And to be honest with you, I watched the guy on television for years now, and he's been saying Donald Trump won't run, and if he runs, he's just going to have fun, and he's going to get out, and you know, all of this stuff. And I'm saying to myself, who is this guy? So he's been losing he won't win New Hampshire, or he won't win various states, and he's been saying this for now, and he looks very bad. He's been wrong for 2 years. He hasn't had one thing right, and he's a big war hawk. You know, he wanted to go into Iraq and, you know, start everything, and he was always in favor of the war in Iraq, and let's go and do this and that, and you see what that got us. So he's a guy I don't think he's a very smart guy, failing magazine, and now I read about he wants to put up an Indy, which will mean, by the way, if that happened, what would mean is you wouldn't have your Supreme Court judges picked. You wouldn't have the justices picked like I'm going to pick them. And we put a list of them out already.
You wouldn't have a wall built. You wouldn't have Obamacare repealed.
Oh, you wouldn't have a lot of things. But I don't think he has anybody, because now he's saying, well, it'll come someday. It'll come, you know, in the future. Well, if you read his tweet was almost like it's imminent, like it's going to be announced this morning. And then all of a sudden he announced, well, maybe not so fast. Who would do it? Look. It's a guarantee loss. You can't even get on in Texas now because they missed their deadline, and now they're missing other deadlines. And all he's doing is, I guess, trying to get publicity for his failing magazine, I imagine.
Yeah. What is your... Look, I know you've been having these discussions with Paul Ryan. What is the status of those, and what is your reaction, with the exception of Bob Dole, former presidential candidates and others are saying they're not coming to the convention? That seems to me...
Well, Bob Dole...
Yeah.
Right. Bob Dole endorsed me, and that was very nice, and that was very nice of him. He called me last week, so that was great. I mean, I don't need their endorsements. I don't think it matters whether or not I get, you know, potential presidential endorsements or past. I mean, look, the world is a mess. This country is a mess, and I'm not looking for their endorsements. I just want the people's endorsement, and I'm getting that because, as you said, the biggest group of people ever. I mean, we have so many millions of people, and you're not just talking about by a little bit. I have millions more than, and you look at Dwight D. Eisenhower, you look at Ronald Reagan, millions more than they had. So it's been a great thing, actually. But nobody has to endorse me.
Yeah.
What I want is the endorsement of the people. That's the only thing that matters to me, Sean.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk more with Donald Trump right after this. And also, and welcome back to Hannity as we continue now with 2016 presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump. Now, this whole issue with you debating Bernie Sanders was interesting because Hillary is now in a dead heat with Bernie in the all-important state of California. She may not win California. For all the talk about chaos and lack of unity in the Republican Party, there seems like there's no unity in the Democratic Party. And Bernie, she cannot put Bernie away. What is your take on that? Because you've openly been defending Bernie Sanders.
Well, I have to say that, frankly, the Republicans, and it's a big story, have been really coming together over the last 2 weeks. It's been amazing. You mentioned Bob Dole, but so many others have come on board. Congressmen, senators. It's really been a big story. So we're really coming together, and a lot faster than even you would have thought. So that's been good. As far as the Hillary situation, it's rigged. She has these superdelegates. It's a total rigged deal. And so Bernie can't win. So we'll see what they do with him. But it's a rigged system. And frankly, the Republicans had somewhat of a rigged system. If I didn't win in massive landslides, there was no way an outsider could have gotten the nomination. I mean, we won by tremendous percentages and margins, or there's no way it could have, because it's a rigged system. And the Democrats are, that thing is so rigged, it is incredible.
It's corrupt. I mean, honestly, you take away those super delegates, Bernie Sanders would have had a shot to win a long time ago, but it creates a perception that in many ways is false.
Well, not only that,
yeah,
she's lost so much lately. I mean, it seems every night you turn on television, and every time there's a vote, she's losing. So I guess she won a few up front, but she is losing so badly. It looks so bad. Now, let's see what happens in California, but she is not doing well.
I've asked you in the past about a team of rivals, whether you might announce like your Secretary of State, your Secretary of Homeland Security, maybe Defense Secretary, positions like that. And also, obviously, people are waiting for your decision as it relates to who your vice presidential nominee will be. Where are you in the process, both in terms of a team of rivals and selecting a VP?
Well, I'm in the process, and I have some people that I think are going to be fantastic for certain positions, and in my own mind, I already have them. I can't tell you who they are yet. It's just too soon. But I want to save a little bit of suspense for the convention. But I have some people that I've already, in my own mind, arrived, and I think they're going to be fantastic. And with the vice president, as you know, probably if you think about it, there are 10, and maybe you boil that down to 5. But some people that are really, really good, and we'll see what happens.
Any surprises?
Could be. If I could surprise you, I could surprise anybody.
I am not the corrupt press. I'm actually the conservative.
That's true,
here,
by the way. It happens. You happen to be right about that.
Yeah, well, I'm an opinion show, and I don't hold back that I'll be voting for Donald Trump in November. All right, here's what I think an important question. I have asked you repeatedly over the course of this campaign about specific issues. You're going to build the wall. You're going to repeal Obamacare. You like health care savings accounts. You want to fix the VA. You want to build up our military. You want to balance a budget. You want to define radical Islam as our enemies. You want to get rid of Common Core. All of those things. I have asked you in the past, does it work to put those ideas, those promises, those things you've said to me on paper, Trump's promises to America, maybe put it in gold leaf, make it Trump style, maybe a little bit of marble like you have in the background?
Yeah.
Is that a good idea, considering the distrust level is so high?
Well, I did it a little bit with the judges. I announced 11 judges that I'd either pick or there'd be somebody very close. I'm probably going to add some to the list because some of them really are, it's come to my attention. We have some out there that are fantastic. I got them largely from the Federalist Society and also from Heritage, and they're great. It's been very well received. I mean, it's possible I will do something like that, Sean. I do think most people know my views, in all fairness, but it's possible I would do something like this.
Yeah. I think what's a really important question, every time you go out You're getting bigger crowds than any other presidential candidate. In one sense, it looks a little bit like Barack Obama in '08. There's a lot of enthusiasm. And then you've got something that I don't think Obama had a lot of, is you have these protesters. We saw what happened in San Diego. You see the Mexican flags that show up at some of these rallies. What is your reaction to all of those people, and do you think it's organized? And we know in the case of vets outside of Trump Tower, it was organized. They were organized by the Clinton team. What is your reaction to those people protesting you?
And burning the American flag. And as far as the people outside, you know, when I was giving away $5.6 million and announcing everybody that got it, all of these great veterans groups, we had veterans, a very small group, because you can't get too many because the veterans like me and I like them, I love them. But we had veterans groups outside of a few people, actually, outside of Trump Tower. They were sent there by Hillary Clinton. They were Clinton. In fact, they were on her masthead. They were sent there by Hillary Clinton. What a disgrace. And when they were interviewed by the reporters, they didn't even know why they were there. So it just shows you what a phony business politics is. Look, the safest place you can be at is a Trump rally, because you see what happens. It's a love fest. There are very, very few people. You know, you see it in the news, but there are very few people that go out and demonstrate. And when they do demonstrate, I mean, in all fairness, they're holding up flags of other countries and they're burning the American flag. I don't think it does them much good.
You saw the Inspector General report as it relates to the Hillary Clinton email scandal. She's got a lot of other issues that I think make her a weak candidate, to the extent that it's a battle between you and her in a general election. How hard do you think you have to push in terms of getting that story out if you think the media is corrupt and liberal and they've got an agenda?
Well, I think the report is a disaster. It really shows that she's corrupt, if you think of it. I mean, it's not just a report.